rediscovering the many treasures of Puebla, Mexico. And perhaps none of those treasures stand as tall as the breathtaking pyramid of Cholula. Built over 2,000 years ago, the site boasts as the largest base pyramid in the world.
For centuries, it appeared to be nothing more than a hill crowned by a church, a tranquil rise in the heart of Mexico. But beneath it lies the largest pyramid on Earth, concealed in plain sight. And now, what scientists have uncovered inside has left the world in awe.
So the archaeologists actually built these tunnels in the pyramid.
That's right.
How much of the pyramid has actually been discovered?
Maybe 20%.
That's it?
Yeah.
Ancient tunnels, sealed chambers, and discoveries that challenge the very foundations of history. What slept beneath the earth for millennia is stirring once more, and what they found under Cholula may not simply alter our understanding of the past, but transform the way we see civilization itself. The hill that wasn't there. For nearly 4 centuries, the people of Cholula believed they lived beside a hill touched by heaven. Rising softly above the plains of Puebla, Mexico, it looked harmless, just another mound of grass crowned by a small colonial church, the Iglesia de Nuestra Señora de los Remedios. Locals called it El Cerrito, the Little Hill. But hidden beneath that church was not earth, nor rock, nor chance. It was the world's largest pyramid, a structure so vast it could swallow the Great Pyramid of Giza twice over. The deception wasn't nature's doing, it was deliberate. In the early 15th century, as the Spanish conquistadors swept across the Americas, they destroyed temples and idols wherever they found them. The indigenous gods, they said, had no place in the empire of Christ. Yet when Hernán Cortés and his men reached Cholula in 1519, they hesitated. Here stood a monument unlike any they had seen, a mountain that wasn't a mountain. Beneath the vegetation, they found cut stone, painted stairways, and strange tunnels leading into the earth. According to later colonial documents, they realized this hill was a pyramid of staggering proportions, far larger than anything in Egypt. They didn't understand it, and that terrified them. The accounts suggest that Spanish priests who accompanied the conquistadors explored part of the pyramid's interior before sealing it again. What they found inside, they wrote, contradicted everything the church believed about the world's beginnings. In their letters, now lost or hidden in archives, they spoke of chambers of wind and fire and machines of the heavens, words too heretical for publication. So instead of tearing the pyramid down, they decided to make it invisible. In 1594, the Spanish colonial authorities made a choice that defied their usual pattern of destruction. They would bury the pagan monument under faith itself. They ordered the slopes of the pyramid covered with soil and grass, disguising it as a natural hill. On its summit, they built the bright yellow church still standing today, a shining Christian crown, atop an ancient indigenous body. From then on, the story of the hill became gospel. The outside world was completely fooled by the fraud. The church was visible to travelers and missionaries, but was always questioned only in the case of the building above it. The Pyramid of Cholula got hidden under the layers of myth, vegetation, and guilt while generations went on. Yet some remembered it, the Nahua and Mixtec descendants living near, who told the stories, very subtle expressions of the underground chambers, breathing tunnels, and the gods sleeping under the church's foundation. The lit-up earth was declared by them below that it was vibrating during certain nights of the year. Only a few were brave enough to try it out. The 19th century, in fact, the late 19th century, saw the scholarly world pondering the hill's artificial origin. The archaeologists' incidental digging to prepare to irrigate actually brought to light the presence of not only soil, but also pottery and stone fragments. It wasn't till 1931 that the truth at last pushed that soil away. The very first thing the Mexican archaeologist Ignacio Marquina had done was to go and research the area, and lo and behold, no readings came back from his instruments. There was a hollow ground. What Marquina uncovered was what the Spaniards had hidden: a pyramid that was almost 450 meters on each side and 66 meters high, greater by volume than any other man-made structure on Earth. Historians were taken aback by the revelation. For a long time, the stubbornness of the pyramid, across which people walked, the summit where they richly prayed, had made them unknowing of the great monument that had been before the coming of Christ. What was the reason for the conquistadors to hide it? To eliminate a civilization that they feared was more advanced than theirs? Or to seal up a truth that was contrary to their worldview? Or, as some local tales say, they might have confined something they were not able to handle. Whichever the case might be, one thing was clear: the hill had never been a hill. It was a riddle, one that had been waiting for 2,000 years for the bravery to be solved. And when archaeologists finally opened its stone veins, what they found inside defied everything we thought we knew about the ancient world: a pyramid made of civilizations. When archaeologist Ignacio Marquina began excavating the Great Mound of Cholula in the 1930s, he expected a single buried temple. What he found instead was a monument built like time itself, one civilization layered atop another, each leaving behind its own brilliance. The Great Pyramid of Cholula wasn't a single creation. It was a stack of worlds, a structure that had evolved for nearly 1,000 years. At its heart stood the original pyramid, Tlachihualtepetl, artificial mountain in Nahuatl, first raised around 300 BCE, likely by the Olmec Xicallanca. Constructed of adobe and volcanic stone, it was less a temple of power than a device of alignment. Its axis calibrated to the rising sun at the equinox, a cosmic clock built centuries before the invention of written calendars. But time kept building. Civilizations rose and fell: Zapotecs, Mixtecs, Toltecs, Aztecs, each seeing in Cholula something sacred. None destroyed what came before. Instead, they built over it, encasing earlier pyramids within newer shells. Layer by layer, the structure expanded like a growing organism, each phase preserving the past rather than erasing it. Cholula became not just an artifact of faith, but a geological record of human aspiration. Marquina's tunnels cut through that history like arteries. The outer walls bore the red clay and angular artistry of the late Mixtec period. Deeper still lay the smooth ochre adobe of pre-classical builders. Each layer revealed a distinct intelligence, from sun-dried bricks to stone blocks laid with near-mathematical precision. The scale defied comprehension. A base 450 meters long on each side, a height of 66 meters, and more than 4.4 million cubic meters of material, enough to make it the largest pyramid on Earth by volume. All of it molded and carried by human hands. What purpose could justify such effort? The layers of earth revealed to the archaeologists altars set up in accordance with the stars, stairs leading to the solstice sun, and murals with serpents, maze, and heavenly fire. This site was not a grave, but a universal map, a physical demonstration of the understanding that the old cultures had of the life, death, and renewal cycles. In addition to the ruination of the rituals and the old temples, the civilizations of Mesoamerica continued their astronomical knowledge. The Toltecs made new alignments based on the planet Venus's orbit. After the Aztecs made a new deity of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, god of wisdom and resurrection, centuries later, they rededicated the pyramid to this god. To them, Cholula was the work of no less than giants, who had the power to make mountains reflect the heavens. The Spaniards in 1519 found heresy in the Temple of Knowledge itself. The destruction of it would bring the fury of the natives. Its burial would make its meaning disappear. They then opted for the strategy of concealment. The pyramid was buried under dirt and centuries, and a church was placed on top of it to sanctify its silence. But still, the archive endured, though hidden under that hill of faith. Modern-day engineers are still amazed by its accuracy. Its construction without the use of any binding agent or metallic parts has allowed it to endure earthquakes and floods with very little damage. The core of the pyramid, which is made up of layers, is still stable as if it were really made to outlive the civilizations that created it. The Pyramid of Cholula is said to be the most archaeologically rich and interesting site in the Americas. where each of the different cultures that ever inhabited the area contributed to the creation of a new culture. Art, science, religion, all of them slowly merging into one continuous history. But what truly set this pyramid apart wasn't just its size or its beauty, it was what lay inside its buried heart, a maze of tunnels that seemed to mirror the stars themselves. The labyrinth beneath the earth. When archaeologist Ignacio Marquina began tunneling into the heart of Cholula, he expected layers of construction, not revelation. Instead, he found a world beneath the world, a vast web of ancient passageways carved with surgical precision through mud brick and volcanic stone. To date, over 8 kilometers of tunnels have been mapped beneath the Great Pyramid, though radar scans suggest that's only a fraction of what lies below. These were not excavation routes. They had always been there. From the start, it was clear the pyramid was built as much below ground as above. Every shaft, corridor, and chamber followed deliberate geometry, a design that seemed mathematical rather than architectural. The tunnels radiated outward like veins, east toward sunrise, west into shadow, others cutting diagonally beneath the core to connect hidden chambers in perfect symmetry. Plotted on a map, the pattern revealed an astonishing truth. The tunnels mirrored the constellations. Their intersections aligned with the positions of Orion, the Pleiades, and Venus during key celestial moments thousands of years ago. The builders had not merely raised a pyramid, they had recreated the heavens beneath the earth. This was cosmology made solid. Inside, the air was thick and motionless. The walls glistened with condensation, whispering with each footstep. As Marquina's team advanced, they noticed the tunnels subtly curved, bending at measured angles that seemed to channel air and sound. A single whisper could carry through multiple chambers, returning distorted and amplified until it seemed to come from the earth itself. Later, acoustic specialists verified that such effects did indeed result from the actions of man. The tunnels were a source of resonance with the changing of frequencies that matched once human voices were the source. Clapping in some of the chambers caused echoes that mimicked the sacred Quetzal bird's call, exactly the phenomenon at Chichen Itza. Whispers were turned into thunder in other rooms. The pyramid's intent was not only structural, but also sonic. It was a living intention. With every layer that they unpeeled, their understanding of the system got more advanced. The water systems that were once running through the area were still functional after 2,000 years. The dome-shaped chambers that were regulating the air pressure to avoid collapse were huge. Such engineering was just as good as anything in Egypt and Mesopotamia, a rare merging of physics, spirituality, and design. Nevertheless, the maze showed the opposite of death. Marquina, in his later journals, mentioned the ceiling of doorways that had been covered with ancient bricks, showing symbols that were older than the known Mesoamerican scripts. One of the chambers had a mural of a serpent swallowing the sun, a divine cycle of death and rebirth, but perhaps also a warning. His team experienced a quick drop in temperature, tremors all of a sudden, and a very quiet buzzing that seemed to come from the stone. Their compasses turned in all directions, their instruments did not work, and their torchlights went off. During the current age, researchers who practice archaeology, but modern ones, went into the tunnels, and the shafts were those that were exactly fitted with the seasonal equinoxes. At the respective times for a few minutes, sunlight engulfed the nadir, and the spectacular carvings, which had been unseen for centuries, were made visible. The builders of the tunnels had precise control over the factors of light, air, and sound, like the scientists. Nonetheless, their purpose is still unknown. Were the tunnels used for ritual transformations, or were they cosmic observatories for the initiates to map the stars below the Earth? Or, as some proposed, a tool for the mind that was to enhance the vibration for shifting awareness? And then, in one of those tunnels, archaeologists found something even stranger, a mural hidden for centuries, depicting scenes so advanced they could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the ancient mind. The mural that shouldn't exist. In 1969, deep beneath the Great Pyramid of Cholula, Workers clearing a narrow chamber struck a wall coated in fine plaster. At first, it seemed ordinary, another structural surface in the maze of tunnels. But when their lamps swept across it, faint pigments shimmered through centuries of dust. Red, black, and gold emerged, revealing a mural nearly 57 meters long. It would come to be known as El Mural de los Bebedores, the mural of the drinkers. At a glance, it appeared ceremonial. Dozens of figures sat in a circle, drinking pulque, the sacred agave brew. Their faces were animated, laughing, solemn, ecstatic, a festival of life and ritual. But as the archaeologists studied the sequence, something strange appeared. The figures began to change. Across the panels, their bodies elongated. Skin markings shifted into fractal patterns. Eyes widened into orbs of light. Some forms dissolved entirely, their outlines transforming into spirals, stars, and serpents. Others grew wings or merged with animals, jaguars, eagles, amphibians. These were not random flourishes. The transformations followed a deliberate progression, step by step, as if describing a process, a metamorphosis. The lead archaeologist, Dr. Florencia Müller, saw it not as art, but instruction. In her field notes, later suppressed, she wrote, "This mural is a visual manuscript. Each figure represents a stage in transformation. What we are seeing is a ritual of transcendence, recorded in pigment." Chemical analysis supported her claim. The pigments contained ergoline alkaloids, hallucinogenic compounds found in ololiuqui, morning glory seeds. But mixed among them were traces resembling harmaline and acacia derivatives, plants native not to the Americas, but to Africa and the Middle East. No known trade routes could explain their presence in a 2,000-year-old chamber beneath central Mexico. Contamination was among the causes pointed out by some experts, while others hinted at a more audacious story, the one that asserted that Cholula had been a place where different civilizations met, a site of ancient knowledge that had been in existence for a long time before written history started. However, the most profound mystery of the mural was not in its composition, but in the very design. When the mural was digitally reconstructed by researchers in the 1970s, they unearthed a secret rhythm. The pattern of transformation coincided with heavenly alignments, more precisely, the movements of Venus, the planet that has always been associated with rebirth. Each of the 10 parts mirrored the planetary positions in the night sky, as if the mural were not only tracing cosmic and human transitions, but also teaching at the same time. It was not mere decoration. To Müller, it was the first biochemical textbook. If her theory were indeed true, it would mean that the builders of Cholula knew a synthesis of chemistry, consciousness, and astronomy that was far more advanced than what history allows, a science of the soul portrayed in colors and shapes. However, the official institutions kept silent as their response. Only a few months after the discovery, the chamber was closed for preservation. The requests from the foreign scientists to access the site were turned down. The mural has been off-limits to the public since then. People who had a chance to view it said that it was something very strange and unreal. The air was vibrating very lightly, and the plaster was giving a soft sound under the artificial light. A person who was there later wrote, "It feels like being inside a thought that isn't yours when standing before it." To certain people, El Mural de los Bebedores symbolizes a vanished ceremony of climbing up to heaven. Others believe it to be an encrypted record, a guide to the development of consciousness itself. And as researchers probed deeper into the pyramid's sealed chambers, they found more than murals. They found artifacts made of metal so advanced they shouldn't exist in the ancient world at all. Secrets the Earth refused to swallow. By the late 1960s, Ignacio Marquina and his team had charted nearly all the known tunnels within Cholula's immense body. Yet, the deeper they went, the stranger the discoveries became, as if the pyramid itself had been guarding truths meant for another age. What they uncovered next blurred the line between archaeology and impossibility. In 1965, workers clearing a lower passage struck something solid. Not stone or clay, but metal. Buried in the compacted earth lay a cache of tools, chisels, rods, and blades forged from a silvery alloy unknown in pre-Columbian metallurgy. Even after centuries underground, the edges gleamed, impossibly sharp. At first, researchers assumed they were colonial intrusions, but sediment analysis proved otherwise. The layers sealing the objects predated the Spanish by more than a millennium. Carbon dating confirmed the surrounding residue's age, and metallurgical tests revealed traces of nickel and chromium, elements unknown to ancient Mesoamerican smelting. Within days, officials classified the find. The artifacts were removed under government order, labeled sensitive materials. Marquina's public report mentioned only unidentified metallic instruments, but in private notes, he described a metal too perfect to be hand-forged, as if poured in a single cast using a lost technology. 2 years later, the Earth yielded more wonders. In 1967, a sealed chamber revealed ceramic discs etched with geometric rings and symbols. When struck, the discs resonated with haunting clarity, their tones reverberating through the tunnels. Acousticians later found the frequencies matched those used in modern sound therapy, precisely tuned to the range of the human voice. How could a civilization 2,000 years old have understood resonance physics so precisely? Then, a discovery was made that altered everything. A broken stone slab, which had engravings on it depicting individuals who were watching the stars through telescopes. The surface of the slab depicted constellations, eclipses, and planetary movements. The traditional archaeologists rejected it as an artistic metaphor, but still, the others thought it was proof that Cholula might have been an advanced learning center, a university of the ancient world. The concept was further strengthened by the discovery of what Marquina referred to as La Biblioteca de Piedra, the library of stone, countless blocks of stone that were carved and covered with symbols of mathematics and astronomy. Analysis through digital technology that was done decades after the discovery revealed that many of the patterns were similar to the modern fractal sequences, geometric shapes that were not known to formal science till the 20th century. Should the carvings turn out to be a genuine artifact, they would be proof that the creators of Cholula were more than just the builders of that era. They were the possessors of the highest knowledge of astronomy, geometry, and acoustical design. But every discovery was quickly reburied, artifacts removed, chambers resealed, reports rewritten. Officials said preservation, but whispers spoke of something deeper that was the protection of a narrative case that was too disruptive to history. Marquina's excavations were officially halted in 1971. Half of the tunnels were sealed by government decree. His public statement talked about safety. His private journal said otherwise. Certain knowledge requires preparation. Humanity is not ready. What knowledge could demand such silence? Perhaps the modern radar scans can provide the answer. The researchers, who have been working under the pyramid at the central axis, have found a gigantic chamber that is still sealed and is giving off metallic reflections and an organic signature, which means it is perfectly preserved and untouched since ancient times. And when scientists finally aimed their radar toward the heart of the pyramid, what they saw made even seasoned experts go pale. A chamber so vast, so intact, it could rewrite not just history, but what we believe about humanity itself. The hidden university. By the time 21st century scientists turned their instruments toward Cholula, archaeology had advanced far beyond pickaxes and brushes. Ground-penetrating radar, magnetometry, and 3D seismic imaging revealed what no one expected. Beneath the vast labyrinth of tunnels lay an even deeper network, symmetrical, immense, and impossibly precise. The visible pyramid was only the surface of something far greater. At the center of those scans appeared a colossal void, a sealed chamber nearly 100 meters wide. Early readings indicated metallic structures intertwined with organic material, an unnatural combination. Whatever was buried there had been built, not formed. Researchers named it La Cámara del Corazón, the Chamber of the Heart. This chamber didn't resemble a tomb or shrine. Its alignment suggested intent, a nexus where every tunnel converged, as though the pyramid's arteries fed a single brain. The implication was startling. Cholula might not have been a temple to the gods, but a repository of knowledge. Clues soon emerged to support that idea. Excavated fragments bore astronomical carvings, complex numeric patterns, and clay shards coated with microscopic glass glaze, a technology unknown in ancient Mesoamerica. Quietly, researchers at Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History began calling Cholula La Universidad Perdida, the Lost University. The theory wasn't fanciful. Each architectural layer of the pyramid appeared to mark not just a new ruling culture, but a new epoch of understanding. The Olmecs, Zapotecs, Mixtecs, and later the Aztecs all added to it, expanding and preserving rather than erasing. Cholula seemed less a conquered monument than a living archive, a place where successive civilizations deposited their wisdom, trusting it to endure beneath layers of stone. Dr. Patricia Cabrera, a leading archaeologist in Puebla, put it succinctly: this was not a temple. It was a school, a living library built in stone, where sound, light, and geometry were the pages. LiDAR scans detected the presence of recessed alcoves in a smaller sealed chamber. Some people thought they were used for keeping codices or instruments, while others pointed out that their location corresponded to the harmonic resonance nodes. Apparently, the pyramid was designed by the builders to communicate through the medium of vibration itself as knowledge. In ancient Mesoamerica, sound was very important. Drums, flutes, and conch shells were not just instruments, but ways to call the universe's frequencies. Acoustic simulations of the pyramid indicated that it was a huge resonator. Every hallway was acoustically conditioned to transmit and receive chants and melodies through the pyramid's underground arteries. Knowledge, it is possible, was not written down, but rather formed with the help of vibrations, an audible script of physics and spirit. The idea was confirmed by modern experiments. Researchers found harmonic ratios identical to those formalized later by Pythagoras when they recreated the pyramid's tunnel frequencies using Marquina's blueprints from the 1940s. This suggested that the ancients had an understanding of mathematical harmonics thousands of years earlier than previously thought. The discovery of the metallic grid under the stone floor, with the interlocking lattice made in perfect geometry, was the most disturbing piece of radar data from the Chamber of the Heart. The grid was thought by some to be merely symbolic. Others believed that it worked like an ancient energy conduit. The truth, however, is that no one is in a position to say, as the chamber is still locked up. And when scientists realized what that final chamber might actually hold, when the scans revealed structures too symmetrical to be natural, the discovery didn't just intrigue them, it terrified them. The awakening beneath Puebla. By 2018, whispers about Cholula had grown too loud to ignore. What began as an archaeological wonder was turning into something else entirely, a mystery that challenged history itself. Ground-penetrating radar scans confirmed a vast, intact chamber buried deep in the pyramid, sealed for over 2,000 years. The data revealed no rubble or disorder, but perfect geometry, squared edges, evenly spaced pillars, and 3 distinct reflective layers: metal, stone, and something seemingly organic. At first, experts celebrated, but the mood shifted when instruments aimed at the site began to fail. Magnetometers spiked unpredictably, as if the earth beneath Cholula pulsed in slow, deliberate beats. Whatever was buried there wasn't inert. It was active. Locals reported strange sensations during the scans: vibrations underfoot, static charges, and low hums rising from the ground after sunset. Authorities dismissed them as interference, yet seismic stations nearby recorded micropulses repeating every 42 seconds, the same interval noted decades earlier in Marquina's lost writings on subterranean harmonics. Coincidence or connection? The government acted quickly. Excavations were halted. Officials declared the new chamber too unstable for exploration, sealed off inner tunnels, and placed the site under heavy surveillance. To locals, it didn't look like preservation. It looked like containment. Before the shutdown, a few researchers leaked what they'd seen. The chamber, called La Cámara del Corazón, the Chamber of the Heart, contained two human-sized forms lying parallel, encased in a lattice of unknown metal, forming a precise grid. Between them rested a cylindrical object about a meter long, one that reflected radar differently from stone or alloy. Some called it a capsule, others the core. If this is the case, then the finding might change the whole concept of ancient engineering and burial methods. The energy readings were even weirder, steady, rhythmic, and in tune with the frequencies of the resonance chambers at the top of the pyramid. One could say that the whole pyramid was vibrating along with whatever was inside it. So, was Cholula a tomb or a mechanism? Maybe a resonance system was created to keep something alive, protected, or sustained. An anonymous engineer's leak explained, "This building is not a spectator. It reacts. It's as if the pyramid has a breath." The saying spread quickly and extensively. The media called it the breathing pyramid in their reports. The spiritual movements thought it was a coming into being, a consciousness that is even older than the human race. The skeptics laughed at it, but the timing of the whole thing was eerie. After radar scans, Puebla had mild tremors precisely under the pyramid, where the epicenter was, and each tremor occurred at the same 42-second interval. To this day, La Cámara del Corazón remains sealed. Official statements say that excavation will take place when safety allows, but those in the know are hinting at even deeper issues. The latest scans have revealed changing electromagnetic patterns beneath the building, as if something underneath is altering. A section of the archaeologists considers it natural stress, and others, silently, call it a response. The mysteries of the Great Pyramid of Cholula are only beginning to unfold, and what's coming next could change everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. If this story fascinated you, hit the like button, share your thoughts and theories down in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss what we uncover next. And before you go, click the next video on your screen to keep exploring the secrets buried beneath our world.